Dolphins fans, what's going on? Ben Morgan of the Fins Up Network. Hey, I'm finally appeasing some of the viewers out there. I am highlighting an offensive lineman in an NFL draft player profile. I know a lot of you want to address offensive line, specifically in the second round, and if not the second round, for sure in the third round. The comment section of my other draft player profiles has told me that. Twitter has told me that. I hear you, and I'm definitely not opposed to that either. I want to start the protection of having a solidified left guard and right tackle protecting Tua. I want that to start now. There's just other prospects that I have my eye on as well. But I definitely hear you. I'm there with you on the offensive line as well. So I will be hitting at least a few more offensive linemen in these type of videos. But today's focus is going to be on BYU tackle Blake Freeland, who, if you haven't seen him before, if you haven't seen his tape, he is a very, very large human being that excels in run blocking and projects well in a zone blocking scheme at the next level. So he gets the nod from me today. But before we start, I want to hear from you. If you're one of those people out there that have wanted a tackle, wanted an offensive lineman in rounds 2 or 3, what are your thoughts on Blake Freeland? Go ahead, drop your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear from you there as well. But let's jump into Blake Freeland. We'll start by talking some strengths. We'll move on to some weaknesses. And then most importantly, as we do with these, we talk about their fit with the Dolphins in the event they would get drafted by Miami. So if you are watching Blake Freeland, you're quickly going to realize that his best work does come in that running game. When he gets his hands in the right spot on a defender, it's simply over. He's got long arms, and I tell you what, he relies on those long arms. We'll be talking about that as we go through here. But with those long arms, if he gets a good first punch, he's got the grip strength as well to just basically just take care of the rest. There's not much tape of players shedding his run blocks when he's in good position and when he gets a hold of the guy that he is blocking. And he's obviously got great size. We're talking about a giant human being, 6'8", and the wingspan that he has, that helps him in that pass protection as well. Obviously, defenders trying to get around him, a bigger guy. And that wingspan helps him. To be fair, though, he relies on it a lot, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit when we talk about the weaknesses. But man, that wingspan that he has allows him to get his hands on guys as they try to dip through, and he can just kind of push them to the ground with that size, with that strength that he has, and that is against lower competition. We got to keep in mind he was playing at BYU, so it's not always going to fly, but it's kind of worked for him so far. But another aspect of his game that I like, it's the smartness, it's the brains, it's being mentally strong. And he shows that with his ability to diagnose stunts and twists up front. And he does a good job of communicating and working with the guard next to him and passing those off and not putting his quarterback in like a compromised position. So you got to love that. But at the end of the day, he's got the things going for him that you can't really coach. It's the size, it's the strength, it's the length, but he's far from a technician. And that's what you kind of look at the position when you kind of dive into the weaknesses, because being a little bit taller, he can struggle with that flexibility and with that kind of quickness and that lateral movement. So like I said, it's a damn good thing he has those long arms, because quite often he kind of uses it as a crutch. It's his bailout move. Because then also being taller, it puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage sometimes if you don't have that athleticism, that bend, that flexibility to go with it, because you just have that higher center of gravity. And since you're not super fleet with your feet, he just relies on that upper body strength that he has against so many things. Like if he does it against the bull rush at the collegiate level, it sort of works, but it's not quite as ideal as being able to get like a little bit squatting, to squat down to a little bit of a lower level, to be able to take that quick step backward and really anchor and embrace for contact and more of an athletic stance. That would allow you to use more of that lower body strength, but he doesn't really get in an opportunity to do that just because he relies on those long arms. It's worked for him. So it's kind of like like I said, it's been a crutch, and he would have to kind of work that out. He's not a technician at the position yet. It's worked during his time at BYU. But NFL guys are going to be, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. So what does that lead to? That leads to him being more susceptible to getting beat with a bull rush, around the edge if they're mixing up their moves, more holding calls. So you would definitely have to work on that. But if you're looking at that potential fit, I know a lot of fans are going to want to hear that, yep, plug and play NFL draft tackle, second or third round. We'll put him at right tackle. Let's start that process of protecting Tua's blind side. The reality is, if we draft Blake Freeland, he'll likely begin his career in a backup role at tackle. And that's for a couple of reasons. First, like I said, he's not a surefire, can't miss type of plug and play tackle. Those guys are off the board already. They come off the board in the first round. They come off the board early in the first round. Like I said, we're talking likely about a third round prospect. And second, it's kind of a combination of things. Austin Jackson just kind of not being given the job, but giving a leg up on that job because the coaching staff, the front office just appear to be hell bent on making that work. And part of me, if it doesn't work, part of me still thinks the team brings in some sort of veteran tackle, whether that's in a trade as the season really starts approaching or yet in free agency, kind of like an insurance policy, sort of like what we saw happen with a guy like Brandon Shell last year. The job was Austin Jackson's. However, we had Brandon Shell, who was a capable guy. Maybe they go that route versus just turning the position over to a third round rookie. I could really see them doing that. So end of the day, I'm not saying it's impossible for Blake Freeland to show up to camp and OTAs and then preseason games and just light it up and say, yep, you're the tackle. It happens sometimes. It does. I'm just saying the odds are a third round right tackle is going to end up probably starting in that backup role because he also needs to learn that transition back to right tackle. When he first started at BYU his freshman season, I think it was like the last 7-8 games, he did start at right tackle. However, the rest of the career was at left tackle. So he's got to have time to transition. He's got a time to grow, to develop, to become more of a technician at the position. And hopefully the NFL coaching that he gets, hopefully the time that he has behind other guys allows for that. And then when you hit 2024, if you still need a right tackle, if you need someone, hopefully by that point in time, he's more technically sound to be able to fall into one of those positions. And then maybe he can be your long-term solution at right tackle. But that is what I have for Blake Freeland. Like I said, Dolphins fans, let's hear what you got. Would you want him to be the guy in the third round if we don't take a tackle in the second round? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's take it from there. Like I've been saying on these, any days there's not major Dolphins news or other things to report on Dolphins related, my goal is to continue to get a prospect done per day. So continue to stay subscribed, turn on those notifications, and keep on checking out these draft player profile videos. And like I said, I promise there will be more offensive linemen involved as well. But that is my time for today, Dolphins fans. And until next time, Fins